Welcome. Welcome to the group, the Facebook group 40 and Shameless, for women 40 and beyond who are ready to surrender their shame, to live shamelessly authentic, making the next half the best half. I'm Diana, emotional freedom coach, and today's topic is how shame affects authentic expression. What we're going to cover today is what is authentic expression. Common reasons why we are blocked from expressing authentically, and the importance of authentic expression in your life and to the world. And so let's begin with what is authentic expression. So many will believe authentic expression is saying whatever's on your mind. And although that is a form of expression, that's not authentic core expression. That's just repeating whatever's in the mind. And things that are in the mind aren't even necessarily your own. It could be something you heard on TV. It could be, it's a recording. Our brain is a recording of what we hear out there. It's not actually what is truly in here. So authentic expression is not just speaking your mind and saying whatever you want that's on your mind, right? It's what's in here, in the heart, in the soul. It's in your body. It's not up here. It's actually here. And one way you can tell the difference is, one, you'll actually feel it in here. You'll feel more grounded. You'll feel more centered when you're speaking from that place. And it's also a lot more simple. There's less words. Where the mind will come up with stories, lots and lots and lots of stories. Where when talking from the soul and the heart, it's a few sentences. It's simple, it's clear. So let's say you're really upset at someone and you're angry and you're rambling off and you're going off and you're expressing that anger. Blah, 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 blah. That's not authentic expression. That is the mind, that is the ego that is going off. Authentic expression is when you connect with yourself and you ask yourself, why am I angry? What is it that has me actually angry? And it'll usually come down to a feeling. And for women, that's how, not always, but the feminine will often express, is through feelings and how we're feeling. So a lot of times that anger will come down to, I'm sad. I'm sad because this is what I was expecting. Or I'm feeling hurt because I don't feel, let's say you're having an argument with someone and I don't feel special. Or I don't feel like you're really hearing me. Or I don't feel like I matter. Or anyways, the ors can go on and on and on. It could be anything and everything. It's just going to come down to simple expression from in here rather than all up here and going on and on with stories. And a lot of times what happens is the ego takes what we're feeling, because it starts with right here, right inside here. Well, it starts with a limiting belief that then creates an emotion internally that then creates thoughts that start to ramble. And then those thoughts then create behaviors and actions, which then create additional limiting beliefs. It becomes this whole entire circle that we keep going around and around and around. However, when we step out of those rambling thoughts and we come into our heart center and come into our bodies and what is going on and how we're feeling, then we're able to express what's really going on. That authentic expression, that limiting belief a lot of the times, if it's something that is unpleasant, right? It could be something completely pleasant, and it could be just sheer love, expressing love. It doesn't even necessarily have to be an uncomfortable emotion or an unpleasant emotion. So if one feels, like I was saying earlier, self-worth, or I'm not feeling like I matter, that's a limiting belief that's also coming up. And you're expressing that authentically rather than going into the thoughts and the ramble and the ramble and the ramble, or going into the heart and really expressing how you feel. Now that is authentic expression. You know, really enjoying spending time with someone and letting them know, right? Common reasons why we block authentic expression comes down to shame. Being judged, belittled, rejected, feeling small, feeling stupid, feeling like someone's going to put us down. And it comes from childhood. You know, whether it be a parent, a school teacher, a boss, when you get older, I guess, siblings, friends, whomever it may be. We were, as a society, have been conditioned to pretty much shame people for the most part. I really got present to how much it's everywhere, and it's become so normal we don't even notice it. We don't even realize it. Some people call it jokes, right? Like, I've come across that. And there are times where it is jokes, and at the same time you can feel when there's a difference. And so being really shut down as a child, when you've expressed even your feelings, oh, you shouldn't feel that way. So there's like, oh, okay, so one, now you're not trusting yourself. Now what, two, you're not going to say it again. You're not going to express yourself again. You're not going to express yourself to the next person, because it's like, well, your feelings, well, they're not valid. You know, so we shut down how we want to express ourselves, speak, you know, opening up to people, being authentic, being vulnerable and expressive, because of how someone is going to react, and us feeling hurt, and the fear of being belittled, the fear of being shamed. And it's not that itself, it's the feeling that it brings us afterwards, because then we feel small, really small. And shame, I don't know if you've heard of David Hawkins, Power versus Force. In the map of consciousness, shame is at the bottom, close to death. Because going back to when we lived in communities, and we only had our tribes, if you weren't part of your tribe, and your tribe didn't accept you, and you were cast out, there was a good chance you were done. You could not survive without your tribe, right? So you needed your tribe to accept you. Things are different now. You know, if you leave one tribe, you're going to find another, you know, that resonates more with you. There's no concern about survival that way. So when we go all the way down to shame, it's feeling not accepted by your community, not accepted by those around you. You feel small, little, and there's a fear with bringing up that emotion, right? So yeah, going back to childhood, so many times being shamed and belittled, right? That is a lot of times the core. What's someone going to say? How are they going to feel? How are this? How are that? I know there are times that I've been lied to because they're scared of how they're going to make me feel. Yet has nothing to do with me. It's actually them and their fear to express shame, that they've created a story about how I'm going to feel. Where with me, I'd rather be told the truth and work with it and deal with it myself and use it as an opportunity for growth than be lied to. However, that person will create a story in their head as to why they can't be honest, why they're stopping their authentic expression, right? And yeah, it's how are people going to take it? How is it going to land? And there are times where no, it might not be a great environment to really express and be vulnerable. And that's okay too. It's also monitoring yourself and getting that, you know what, this is not an environment that I can honestly be authentic. However, that's being authentic with yourself, right? Because then it's not just being authentic with the outside world, it's being authentic with yourself as well. Where am I at? How do I feel? You know, this is not an environment I feel that I can really be open and express my authentic self in. And that's okay. You do not have to. You are still being authentic to yourself. And that may even be a boundary for you. Of, you know what, in an environment like this, I put my boundaries because this is not, I don't feel that this is much of a safe environment for me to express. And in some cases, it's looking at that too. You know, maybe there's something more to that. Maybe there isn't. Maybe it's just that simple. It can vary, but it's checking in within. There's this authentic expression, you know, even with, you know, yourself, right, as well. So now getting into the importance of authentic expression in your life and the world. One is your internal dialogue. Being authentic with yourself on how you feel. So there was the other day, a few days ago, I was procrastinating. And I didn't understand what was going on. And my brain was creating stories. I'm sabotaging myself. I'm this, I'm that. And it was creating all these, you know, brain known, what we're learning stories about sabotage and this. And I'm like all this craziness, right? And when I came, and that's ego. That's part of the ego going on and on. I was shaming myself. I'm not this, and I'm not doing that, and blah, 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 and all of this. And then I'm like, hold up. And I came to my center, and I came to my heart. And I asked myself, okay, what am I feeling? And I was being authentic with myself on how I was feeling. So I'm like, okay, I'm kind of scared. I'm feeling anxious. I'm nervous to do this. And once I started to do that, I calmed down because I was being real with myself. The feelings started to calm down. I was being real with myself. And then I was able to then get up and start doing again. It passed. It released because I came to the truth. Once I came to the truth and I acknowledged the truth inside, I was then able to continue. I stopped procrastinating, I got back in action, and I was perfectly fine with it. And the way I see it and the way I work with it also is that's the inner child, right? So the inner child is feeling XYZ, right? And that's the heart, that's the soul, that's the authentic self in there, right? The mind, the ego, that aspect is like all blah, 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 story, creating blah, 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 about what the child within is actually feeling, right? Even though it's not even acknowledging really what it's feeling, it's creating stories around it. Wiping that out and coming inside to the inner child and hearing out that little child within us and how it's feeling, it just needs to be heard. So that authentic expression is so important even within us and what we go through and being authentic with ourselves. A lot of times someone is expressing something and it seems like they're lying because you can feel, you know, sometimes as an empath, you can feel like what they're saying isn't really the truth. But to them, it's the truth because they're not even being authentic with themselves. Right? So there's a lot of lack of even being authentic with ourselves, never mind someone else. And once we start to begin to really be authentic with ourselves and not being scared removing the shame of being authentic with ourselves and what's inside, then it becomes so much easier to be authentic with those out there. Once you stop judging your authentic voice, accepting you, all of that, it then becomes easier with others. So it's always starting with the inner dialogue first, and how much that just affects your life on so many levels is that inner dialogue and what you're actually saying to yourself, right? Instead of all the baloney that's up here, right? The other reason why is one, starts, with you, then your connection with others, right? So once you can get really connected with yourself and your inner dialogue, your inner authentic voice, then going externally with others, you're able to have better connection with others. And it then invites others to be authentic with you because you're being authentic. And you may sit there and you may, be expressing authentically with someone, being in your heart, and they're not there. They're kind of like what's going on here, right? And you stay there. Instead of then going to where they're going, you stay in your authentic space. And then eventually you may not, majority of the time you will, because remember, it's their stuff now that's coming up and how comfortable they are with authenticity. It usually invites them to get authentic as well. And they'll actually hear you more, hear what you have to say more. They'll actually open up more because now it's not a battle of the egos. It's actual openness. It's not power of the egos. It's not, a mask, two masks talking to each other. And it invites that person to be authentic as well. And then it builds such an amazing connection, right? Because now you're both talking openly and authentically and deeply and real. And it opens up the heart. And it just creates this most beautiful connection. And then the other piece is then out into the world. Sending your expression out into the world, right? To create. Wouldn't it be amazing if we can all just express authentically, and what can happen to this world if we all just did? And part of the expressing authentically is also hearing, listening. Expression is not just outwardly. Majority of it is actually hearing, listening, more than actually speaking. However, when you begin to also speak, you also begin to listen as well, right? Hearing someone else's authentic expression, because now you're also used to listening to your own authentic expression. And it's also creation. Our voice creates, right? So it's taking our inspiration, everything that comes to us that we want to create in this world, and it's using our voice to create, right? Let there be the word, and then there was the word, and the word created, right? Let there be light, let there be this, let there be that, right? And boom, create, right? When you have a Kundalini awakening and all that, it goes up the spine, and we have 33 vertebrae. I mean, I'm going to go into another realm, but even from a spiritual perspective, from a biblical perspective, 33 vertebrae. Jesus was 33 before he resurrected and went up. Like there's so much to it. You can go even further into it, the whole angel and devil on the shoulders, right near the throat. Because that darkness doesn't want us to express authentically, to create beauty in this world. It wants to keep us down kind of thing. But that's part of our challenge. I believe there's no good or bad or evil and all that kind of stuff. There's just lower frequencies, higher frequencies, favorable outcomes, unfavorable outcomes, things that feed us, things that take away from us, empower us, disempower us. That's the way I see things, and that we're here to evolve, to grow, to awaken, to expand from there. And there are darker, denser energies that fear those lighter energies, right? I've seen it even with certain people that just love being in the dark so much that they don't want to even hear something that's lighter. Anyways, that's another space. Having that on the shoulders, right? Because to block our expression. And like there's just so much. It's putting it out into the world. Our authentic expression is just so important, and it's coming into the heart, coming into the simplicity. It's just so simple. It's just like a little child, the little child that's pure within, right? We didn't come into this planet with all these issues and all these fears and all that. You look into a child's eyes. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. They really actually see you, and they're actually there. Like my niece, like when you look at her, like she'll just sit there and just stare right into your eyes and she'll just observe. It's incredible. And it's just so beautiful. They're so pure, they're so innocent. And then you start to see the world get in, and then they start to get insecure and shame and this and that, and it's like, oh my God, So, think of it sometimes as that little child within that never got heard, that never got to express as well when it comes to, stepping into that space and being honest and real and sometimes without any expectation, right? I've learned to express my love without the expectation of hearing any love in return. And I love it. It's beautiful because it's freeing. I get to be free to express my love without the insecurity or the fear of not hearing it back. Because sometimes if someone just is not in the space that day to really feel it, they're just not feeling it that day. And all they need is to receive. They have nothing to give that day because of how they're feeling. And they just need to receive. Right? That's how it is sometimes. And I'd rather someone tell me something when they're really feeling it and they're there, rather than just to automatically respond. How many times do we say I love you just because? To say I love you back, right? Instead of saying it when we're really feeling it in that moment. Not to say we don't. It's just in that moment we're just not in that space to feel it, and that's okay. So coming into your authentic expression. So what we went over today is what is authentic expression, ego versus the heart, and the two common reasons why we're blocked in our authentic expression and expressing authentically, from the shame and childhood and inner child and all of that. And then the importance of authentic expression in your life, in your relationships, out into the world. That's what we covered today. So if you are ready to dive deep into releasing shame and its effects on your life, to make the next half of your life the best half of your life, you are welcome to book a free strategy call with me, where we'll dive deep into what is going on in your life right now, and if what I do in life can help you with that. Till next time, have a shamelessly fun day.